Hello, my name is Kuldeep Singh Randhawa. I live in Surrey, BC. I'm a professional engineer who was suspended in August 2005 following a fraudulent investigation by APEGBC in April 2005. This is the first video of about 5 major frauds that have taken place against me as part of a intentional, progressive, hurtful, evil acts by the institutions where the politicians are fully aware of what's taking place, where a number of lawyers are fully aware of what's taking place, who are never investigated, who are never held accountable, but they are going to be held accountable. We live in a nation that is operated under the rule of law. So I'm going to dive straight into this issue about the engineering fraud and then start other videos so that people can reach out to me. Around about 2003, my client, Blue Water Systems Limited, who I had actually serviced quite adequately on numerous projects, filed a complaint on an alleged water tank that was supposed to have been constructed, built, and had collapsed. The truth is, there was no water tank even built. So when you go to a engineering body, engineers are professionals, so they're regulated by the professional body. The control is not really even given to the Supreme Court. When the engineering body makes a mistake, you can file an appeal at the Supreme Court. The appeal was filed, it has not even been heard and not even set, and neither will it be set. The reason is very obvious. The appeal was about a water tank that was constructed and commissioned that allegedly had been collapsed, and so therefore I'm supposed to have made some mistakes. And that's what the regulation is all about. What mistakes did I make so that those mistakes can never be made again, so that the profession, a learned profession of engineers, can maintain its high standards. When there is no water tank even built, there's no need to even have a hearing. There's no need to even have an appeal. This is a crime by a professional body. So when a professional engineer in practice, he has a whole range of clients. Numerous projects have been interfered with and cancelled. The professional engineer has professional liability insurance. The insurance are Encon. They've now changed their name to another name, another insurance body. They're represented by lawyers, so they have adjusters. Now another law firm is involved. So then they approach expert engineers who are supposed to be providing a report that can somehow set aside the entire matter. No report was provided. We retained Sandwell Inc., a reputable company who had connections throughout the world, a large engineering company that services Venezuela, where the so-called tanks were supposed to have been constructed. So they were shipped from BC, put into containers, and then sent to Venezuela and supposed to have been constructed. The experts provided no report, not even a single letter, until the very last hearing of the discipline process, which is termed as a penalty phase. The suspension was based on 6 months, then eventually they reduced it to 3 months, then eventually they said, Mr. Randhawa, you're not suspended. So there's a 0 months of suspension, but you have to return the license back until I do an exam, which is called the ethics exam, when really a person is subjected to that exam if you've done something unethical. A person who makes a mistake in engineering is not necessarily automatically considered as unethical. A person that does a design intentionally knows that a mistake has been made and then does not disclose that error in the design, where a beam has been installed in a house. That professional engineer has to tell the client, a mistake has been made, we have to do some changes. I'm not going to charge you any engineering fees, but we have to find a solution. So people do not get killed once the house is occupied by people. If an engineer does not disclose that to the client, that would be an ethical issue. But when a professional body interferes with the process and they know that there was no water tank even built, where other people, other professionals and other companies involved, where a tank had actually collapsed before, involving another firm, where that reputation of that firm has to be protected, where another engineer working for that bigger firm has to be protected, having done a mistake where a tank has failed and now the compensation of that failure has to be claimed from another person whose name is put on some list. It's called a blacklist for a reason, because these people have to be targeted. So whenever there's a problem, you do the lawful duty, you say this has to be investigated because matters are carrying on in this nation where people who have done the crimes have to be protected, so your name is put on the list. You could do something positive. You can make some statement in a Sikh temple, for example, that doesn't go well with some people. Even though the person has not committed any crimes, he's just exercising the right of freedom of speech. But it doesn't go well with someone, so now your name is on this list. I've actually done a lot of work as an engineer on Sikh Gurdwaras. Another word is Sikh temples, according to the English media. Gurdwara means the Guru's courtyard. It's a Punjabi term which doesn't really go well with some people. If you make a speech in the Gurdwara, you're entitled to speak about your religion, just as Christians are entitled to speak about Christianity, just as those people who are Islamic can talk about Islam in mosques. We have that right. We live in Canada. So when a person files a complaint against the Engineering Association that there's something not quite right here, and they know that another person was involved in a criminal activity, under ethics, the professional engineers working in the regulatory bodies have to disclose that. Under the Engineers Act, the professional engineer can be investigated, even though you're working in the regulatory body. So the law has to be applied, it has to be followed. And so why am I making this video? Just imagine this as an example so that people can really understand the ridiculousness of this situation. A lot of contractors, clients of mine, they build houses. When you build a house, you start off with a foundation, you pass the pipes, you then backfill, you compact, you put concrete, and then you build a frame, and then you put the trusses on top of the frame. That's the proper sequence of events. You freaking twits, you never start off by putting the trusses first, and then the frame, and then the foundation. This is a ridiculous statement made by a professional engineer with 3 decades of engineering experience. When you have a water tank, you've got no pipes going there. You need pipes to fill this tank. These pipes are not small, 2 feet in diameter, this wide. And then you need to have pipes to empty that water tank. And then you have a pipe to make sure it doesn't overflow. So if these pipes don't exist, how do you commission it? Now you've got a water tank. Somehow water is introduced with small pipes over the top of the walls. So how do you empty a water tank which has got no outlet pipes? Oh, there's only one way to empty it. That's to pull it to failure. You induce a failure of a structure that is not a water tank. You then take pictures. Now you can say there's a water tank collapse because you've got some structure built which is fake. You've got water on the site which is now flown out. But you can see the site pictures which clearly show that there's no pipes. What was the idea? That you're going to put the walls up, put some liner inside, and then you're going to dig a tunnel underneath and bring the pipes in afterwards? Is this something I have to explain to the engineering body? When there's a picture clearly shown that was not being disclosed for over 2 years because the complaint was filed in 2003, the hearings took place in April 2005. I then, having proven that there was serious issues with the expert report prepared by Paul Hu and another co-signatory of this report from Westmar Consultants Inc. Did they not know that there's no pipes? They claimed that the tank collapsed in August 2nd, 2003. There's a calculation that they prepared which states that they were involved in April of 2003. The date on that calculation sheet as part of the report says that the date is April 6, 2003, and therefore the calculation sheet was for a collapsed tank, which means that the tank failed prior to April 6, 2003. So what happened? You build a tank in April 2003, and then it collapses prior to April 6, 2003, which cannot happen. So that's the only evidence is then that there was another water tank constructed by another engineering firm. Then if that calculation sheet says April 6, 2003, it means Westmar Consultants Inc. were involved in April of 2003. So their report where it says on the front page that they were retained in September of 2003 is fraud. It is not true. So you build a tank, it collapses, and then you build another tank, and another one collapses in August 2nd. Like, how many tank failures are you going to have in this investigation? When the truth is there was no tank even built. And this crime involves numerous organizations, numerous institutions, and none of these lawyers under ethics have disclosed the truth. A report prepared by Westmar Consultants Inc. using a building code to design a water tank is not done. A plane that flies in the air cannot be designed using a building code. It can't be used, you can't even use a code prepared for ships. You've got to use a code written for planes. This is not rocket science. And for decades now, I've been going to various lawyers and telling them this is what's happening. All of those lawyers are fully aware of what's happening. So why are they not coming forward? Why are the Sikh organizations not coming forward? Why are the Sikh people, the leaders in the Sikh Gurdwaras, who tell people to be brave and tell about histories of what happened in the past? Are you cowards? What is it? So either you're afraid, or you're corrupt, or you don't know. Well, as of today, you know what is happening. You know that this person who did some community work had to be targeted because the progress of Sikhism has to be hindered, a religion that stands up for justice. And so this is, I think, enough that I can say there's a lot of evidence I have which is available. All those professional engineers who have been dealing with this organization of crime called APEGBC, all of those people in this organization need to be arrested. They need to be protested outside the buildings, and all of the presidents that were responsible for this institution from the date of my complaint back in 2003 to the present day have to be held accountable. I don't care if you're a president or whether you're part of some discipline committee, you now know that there's a crime taking place here. All professional engineers throughout Canada can contact me. Other people have been harmed by this institution of crime. The police is being notified. They will be investigating this matter.